Alright folks, welcome to another episode, I guess, of a dev blog review. Yes, I've just got out of the shower. Yes, look at the hair, it's past the shoulder. People say, this guy wears a hat because he's bald. I've seen that comment before, I'm not sure where that's coming from. Well, last time I checked I wasn't, but, shout out to all my, bald guys, Put some respect on people. You can't help losing your hair, can you? You can't help losing your hair. It's a traumatic experience for some. Some people love it, some people don't care. Some it's traumatic. So let's not hair shame, alright? We're here to be nice people. Now, beginning the video, I want to showcase a few things about Operation 4 and everything that's coming in it. So we'll jump straight into the game screen. As always, this channel cannot feature and cannot function without your support. I wish it was another way. I wish I had 10 million subscribers, sponsors knocking at my door, and I had 12 Lamborghinis parked outside, and I was just producing mad content. I wish that's what it was, but it's not. So, unfortunately, we do have to ask for people to support the content goal. We're about 10% of the way there at the moment. Everything that gets put into the content goal basically gets put back in. At the moment, I've just purchased a brand new computer. Just like how I purchased all of my driving lessons quite a few years ago, I don't want to do a goal that I can't do myself. Does that make sense? So I would not put a goal up saying buy me a new PC if I couldn't buy myself a new PC. It just wouldn't feel right, especially for a channel of my size. I'm not a big channel or anything like that. If anything, it would be even weirder if I was a bigger channel. I see people that are huge channels making millions asking for, crazy amounts of things. And I just think to myself, what? Anyway, that's not the point. The point is I've basically written down all of my parts. I've got the money. I can buy the new computer, which will allow me to hopefully stream at better quality, render some videos faster, because at the moment it's like a 4-hour job, and that's just irritating because I can't use the PC whilst I'm doing that. And anything that you support, subscribe, donate, tip, if you want to join and become a YouTube member, all of that goes back into paying off the PC effectively. Now that we've kind of explained that and done our daily advertisement, as people in Twitch chat will know what they're talking about, ! Ad, we can now chat about Operation 4. We'll play a quick trailer here, and it is a quick trailer. Brace yourself. Lightning fast trailer, basically quick reveal of Dom. You can also see the remnants. You remember this big pillar here? You can tell this is Blood Drive. So Blood Drive returns. You want to know my quick thoughts about Blood Drive? I don't like the map. I think it's one of those maps where it works. There's nothing majorly wrong with it. It's okay for Horde, it's okay for multiplayer, it's a bit campy for Team Deathmatch, very campy in fact. King of the Hill, I can imagine crossing out of those windows. I can imagine it can get quite annoying, quite a big map to rotate to and from and get past all the Lancer Fire and the long corridors. It's not my favourite map, and also I think players will be bored of camping in frag grenades on Horde mode. I know Jack, I don't want to butcher his name, Jack2055 is a Horde streamer. I know he's bored of Blood Drive, and I remember speaking to him many months ago asking about his opinion on Horde, and he was like, oh, I don't want Blood Drive because I've done that till the dawn of time. And it's back, I'm here to review the dev blog, have a chat. It's an hour long, we'll get into it. But before we begin, I'll read through this. The point is that the way I see Gears now is it's just not an everlasting gobstopper. It's an ever improving product. It will get better and better and better and better, and that's a good thing, right? Some games launch and that's it. That's the way the game will be forever. Gears 5 will 100% get better and better and better. So it is a game that if you like and you enjoy, it's a great time to be a Gears fan because the game's going to get better and better. The rate of that progression the type of progression that is, quote, better is up to you, isn't it? If they think that weaker Lancers is better and you don't, well, then the game's not getting better for you. If you think Horde is useless and they don't do anything for Horde, but they improve, a new ranking system, well, then that's not done anything for you. It just depends what you believe is better, and that's what it always comes down to. A video game is a video game. It's not, it's not meant to be this thing that you play for the whole entire life. You do drop in and out. Some months you want to play a bit of Gears, some months you want to play some Apex, some months you might want to revisit an old RPG like Mass Effect 2. Games you can drop in and out, and you're just hoping that when you return to it or when you're in the mood for it, it's a good experience. So that's how I see it. Now for me, Operation 3 was pretty fun. Towards the end it got very boring very quickly. I enjoyed going through the tour, mainly because I knew I was going to be playing a lot of multiplayer, so I figured, well, whilst I'm playing multiplayer, I will, do the tour of duty. So that worked hand in hand. I then had never really played Horde during Gears of War, and I'd never really played, obviously, Escape, that was new, but mainly Horde. And with quarantine happening, with all of this happening, all of my old Gears people were on all the time. We were all online, and we all played Horde, and it was a fun experience. I can't deny it. I really did enjoy Operation 3 Horde, and maybe that's just because that's my first experience of properly doing Horde, leveling up the cards, going from like a really beginner phase to like a crit snipe, chain-in snipes. I have to admit it was a fun experience. Will I be doing that in Operation 4? Well, no, probably not, because I feel like I've experienced Horde, so unless there's a big change, I probably won't be doing that. Will I be playing a ton of Escape in Operation 4? Probably not. I feel like I've mastered it. I've got one more hive to do. I've mastered almost every single hive. There will be new hives, and I do enjoy them, but I'll probably move on to just mainly multiplayer, because I feel like I've experienced a lot that the game has to offer. And then I'm probably, now that I've had those new experiences, going to move on to what I would call like my core enjoyment. So I've dabbled in Horde and Escape, but mainly I'm a multiplayer guy. So for me, I'm looking for the ranking system, I'm looking for maps, I'm looking for balance, I'm looking for fun experiences. When I hop on my PC and I think to myself, all right, I've got an hour or two to play, I'm going to hop on some Gears, that's what I'm looking for. So everyone's looking for different things, and that can be really difficult to balance as a developer. And I saw somebody posting, I think somebody did a highlights of the entire dev stream, and it was like I think it was 11 minutes long, and someone was like, not much of a highlight if it's 11 minutes long, and I thought, geez, 11 minutes is my intro, and what's fantastic is you guys seem to enjoy it, so I don't feel any pressure about speaking for a little bit longer. I'm not like, oh, I need to do a jump cut, or I need to do a fancy, I need to wrap it up and transition, because I feel like I can chat, and that's wonderful. Because I think it's important that when you're listening to maybe a review, or when you're listening to, someone's opinion, you kind of know what they're about. And I feel like if I just whiz out a 10-minute highlight video, you don't really get to know anything about me, you don't know my opinions, and therefore you can't base it off my opinion. Does that make sense? Like, if you know I hate Horde, and all of a sudden I love Horde mode, you're probably going to think, oh, it might have improved a lot. If I love multiplayer, and that's all I'm on about, multiplayer, and suddenly I stop playing multiplayer, which I did for a couple months, you're probably like, the multiplayer maybe has gone downhill, or maybe I know he likes this style, so it must be this style. Whereas if you don't know anything about me, listening to my opinion's pointless, because you have no basis, you have no initial point to base your opinion off mine, So that's what I always do when I watch reviews. I like to get to know the person, because it just makes the review feel more impactful and meaningful to me, because that's how I've always done it. If I want to watch again, I always give the example of Total Biscuit. He absolutely hated puzzle games, but he really liked the Swapper. So I thought, well, if this guy hates puzzle games and so do I, and he likes the Swapper, maybe this is the game to get me into it. Whereas if I didn't know anything about Total Biscuit and he said the Swapper's good, I might have just gone, oh, well, I hate puzzle games, so Anyway, let's get into it. So what's next for Gears 5? We launched Gears 5 and our mantra was to challenge expectations. The mindset helped us create the biggest game in history. The scale and scope of the campaign was unprecedented. Again, I'm not commenting on any of this, you know. We'll let bygones be bygones. We adopted a tile system, yep, and now that we've got a new leadership in place, we've got an opportunity to take a look at the state of Gears 5. You've already seen some of those changes that have been happening due to the gameplay and features, the weapon tuning, the movement tuning. The online experience has been improved by modifying our playlist. The new dev playlist allows us to respond to feedback, absolutely. Follow me on Twitter. I often tweet my link to the feedback I'm given. We rebuilt the rank system to make it more clear and fun. We understand how valuable a player's time is, so we've reworked the rewards in the Tour of Duty, and all the content, quote, nearly all the content can be purchased or earned by playing. And this is happening in Operation 4. There's going to be tons of new features, and we're going to reveal them as we get closer and closer to launch date. So in Operation 4, new characters and maps, new ranking system, there's going to be a new store earnable currency, PvE updates, ongoing quality of life updates. Now, bear in mind, right? Here's again, so you know what I'm thinking. I am not that fussed about the shop. I have a big, long microtransaction video. It was quite controversial because I said that I think not having a shop is anti-consumer because some people have more money than time and some people have more time than money. And if you can't unlock a piece of content that you want, whether it be through grinding or whether it be through money, it's a bit scummy. Now, you probably should be able to earn them both ways, kind of like Overwatch, and that seems like what they're doing here, so that's a good change. PvE updates. So again, your Horde, your Escape, that could even include campaign, but I feel like they're kind of done with the campaign. And ongoing quality of life improvements, which again, probably doesn't or shouldn't need to be mentioned because every game and every company and every product should always have ongoing quality of life improvements, but it's there. So on Tuesday, which, boom, has been, we've got the What's Up. On Wednesday, we've got the new ranking system, which is today. Then we have the currency system, and then we have the PV updates. So I'm going to try do all of those as best I can. So again, support the content goal, subscribe, like, comment, all of that stuff helps. We're currently at 35 out of 100 subscribers. So if you like my Gears content, you know, support your honest boy GGZII, who's very open on Twitter and in general, you know. So characters and abilities in Operation 4. Every character in Op 4 will not have a corresponding hero ability. This is something we already knew. What that basically means is, rather than having the Coltrane ready at launch and Rod Ferguson saying he's not coming out till his ultimate's ready, we now just have the character ready. It can be put out there, which means they can ramp out characters much quicker, and then maybe down the line when they figure out what the meta is, what kind of abilities they want the guy to have or girl, they can fit them in at a time and a place that's more convenient rather than holding back content. And maps, as they've said, it says they've paused tiles. They don't want to do tiles anymore. I don't think tiles was the issue. Again, I don't think tiles was the issue. I don't think this. I think just the rate of it. Forget tiles. Forget, you know, all of this. For me, if you want to make a load of tiles and then boom, you've made 500 tiles, and then every 2 weeks there's like 2 new maps coming out to keep it fresh, everybody would love the tile system. However, when a tile system comes out and it takes just as long to make a tiled map as it does to make a regular map, people then wait 6 months and go, oh, I've seen this tile in Escape or in a previous map, and it feels a bit cheap, even though it took just as long to make. So what they're doing is effectively making more maps, and they have been making more maps. However, they take 6 months, and they probably made midway through Op 3, weren't they, when the big fuss came up about maps. So they probably paused everything, and at the start or beginning towards the middle of Operation 3, they probably started cranking out maps, which takes 4, 5, 6 months. So, you know, they're going to be out in Operation 5. Now, there are some maps. I believe there's one new map and there's Blood Drive. But there's going to be basically Operation 4 feels like a let's get the ranking system done. Let's get some characters out. Let's get a proper store. Let's get the game feeling fun. And then Operation 5 will be the load of content. That's not to say there won't be a load of content in Operation 4. but that's how I interpret that. Again, if you're interested in learning about how a map is made on Gears 5, there's tons of content on my channel. The most recent video we did was watching a old developer blog where they go through the engine and they show the different versions and iterations of the game, and it shows how District was built bit by bit, and it gives you an idea of how long a map takes. So if you're ever wondering why 6 months, this or that, or maybe just the philosophy, like what goes into their map design, you know, what kind of stronghold positions do they want, where they want the, you know, the areas of battle to be focused, you can have a look at this dev blog and it might be of use to you. And whilst you're there, subscribe, because I think it's 87%. It could even be 97%. It could even be 97% of people are not subscribed to the channel. And when you subscribe, ring that bell, because that pings you, like here, you get a notification that I've uploaded. Otherwise, you don't get one, because nobody checks the sub box. I don't either. So, and I'm not going to be on the trending section like here, recommended. I know I'm there, but that's because I'm kind of looking at it and I'm me. You know, so do that if you want to help your boy out. So that's kind of how that is going. Now we can jump into the dev blog and we can have a quick gander at some specific things. However, again, it's going to be characters and maps. If you're not interested in watching the full dev blog, there's going to be some characters and maps. One of them's Dom. There's going to be some others. The new ranking system, which we're going to find out about today. New store has an earnable currency, PV updates, and quality of life. So, boom. Let's jump into it. Let's see what they've got to say. We've got the trailer there playing. We've seen that, so we can skip.
Today I'm joined with a man, a behind-the-scenes kind of.
I'm not sure why theatre mode is quite big. You see theatre mode? Normally theatre mode has the chat quite small. Today we've got a massive chat.
One, Alex Grimley. Alex, executive producer on Gears 5, focused on live services. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dana. I'm excited to do this for the first time.
Well, I'll be nice to you. I'll only ask you the hard questions.
I appreciate it.
So, Alex, let's kind of, for those, because you're a little, you're not as far as out into the public as other people are, but you've been at TC for a while.
Yeah, that's right. You know me pretty well. I've been here 4 years now, and like to kind of operate behind the scenes somewhat. So I joined 4 years ago, and since that time, I've been working on what we call the publishing side of the coalition. So I've been the executive producer on Gears Tactics, which we launched not too long ago, which was really, really good fun, and also Gears Pop, and then dabbling a bit towards the end of Gears 4 in the live service there. So yeah, been here a while.
Yeah, and you and I, of course, worked together a million jillion years ago on Need for Speed. So
yeah, long time ago.
So today was a big deal. We had a blog. We posted our blog. We sort of talked about what's next for Gears 5, and we talked a little bit about what's coming in Gears 4, and a small nod to some of the stuff that's happening inside of Gears 5. Now, I'm sorry, in Op 5. Too many number 5s kicking around. Now, this week we're going to talk about Ranked tomorrow. We're going to talk about our new store and our new currency on Thursday, and then some PvE stuff is going to be talked about on Friday. So I don't want to spend today going through all the specifics around those ones, because we're going to have various people on that's their area of focus. They can go a lot more deeper, and we can get into all of the minutia of that conversation. But what I really want to talk to you today about is some of the bigger things that we've got going on. And I think the big thing is, why is the game changing now?
That's a good question. It will take some time. So firstly, just to call out, like you said, there's a lot going on this week, and I just want to give a shout out to the other kind of team members that are going to be speaking later in the week on a detail, and they're going to cover that much better than I could. But yeah, so I got asked to just take a look at where Gears 5 was around New Year, just after New Year this year. What we did was just gather a group of the leaders from the studio together, held what we call a summit, which is a fancy word for just saying, let's just kind of revise where we are and see how we're doing well, and let's be honest with the things that we need to change. And there was a lot of things that are going well, and there's a lot of things that we also needed to change. So yeah,
Alex,
we
can you
got,
move your mic out just a hair? I know I told you to move
sure.
it forward, but that's my fault.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So we took a look at everything that was going on in the game. We took a look at the forums. We took a look at Reddit. We took a look at the data that the game's telling us, and just our own experience of playing the game as well. And I think we set off with just having a very honest conversation. There's no egos in the room. We tried to kind of let go of any history or attachment that we had to the way the service had been running previously. And we looked at everything that we could kind of change and kind of improve for the game. And one of the key things I think we looked at was just how we'd like to operate as a team going forwards. And I think one of the key things there is just to own up to our mistakes, to be transparent as well with the fan base. And we know there's so many passionate fans out there, and sometimes it's hard to read the forums, and sometimes it's hard to read Reddit. But I think within every single piece of feedback, there's something that the dev team can learn from, and we took all of that on board. And even though we knew,
I do hope they listen to other areas than the forums and Reddit, because my experience with the forums and Reddit is, I don't want to use the word nut job, because that would be very unfair. Let's just say that they're incredibly passionate about their area, that they're incredibly passionate about, and sometimes it can really, really overspill, and it can just get mental. And sometimes I feel like they're just arguing points that don't even need to be argued. Now, these people here definitely have got their head screwed on. You can just tell by the way they're talking. It's like they've had an external team step in and be like, we tried to run the game in a system that maybe didn't work. We're going to strip it back, have a look at what doesn't work, and have a look at feedback, maybe get some ideas. And sort of, yeah, I guess rework the game again. So for people that have been on the journey like me, it's seems to be a never-ending thing about reworking the game. But to me, this seems a bit different. This doesn't seem like, say, a Rod Ferguson or somebody stepping in and being like, listen, we know you're a bit pissed off, but, the game's improving. This seems to be like more of a, yeah, don't worry, like we definitely looked at sort of the way the game worked and it didn't work and what we wanted it to be initially. Because I imagine when you get to that level, you've maybe pitched an idea and it's gone into the game. It's going to be very difficult to just scrap it, even because maybe it's a great idea and in 6 months it would be the perfect idea, but right now it's not what's needed. And like you said, the ego, the emotion has been dropped, and they've just spoke candidly about Gears. And that seems like a very healthy thing to do. And I think that'll be good for the game to have, particularly Splash. I think it's Splash Damage. Or is it Splash Bomb? I forget their name, sorry. I should know, I'm in their Discord. They arted all of the maps and they did Gears Tactics. And it was a really good team. And it seemed like a good environment. They're a UK based studio apparently in London, and that seemed like a really good idea to have them again maybe come back in and have a look, because we don't know what's going on, do we? Maybe there are some higher ups, or there were some higher ups or some bosses or other people doing these ideas that didn't work, and now that they've maybe gone or less vocal, or maybe they've moved on to a different area, they can now have a look at kind of the state of the game. So I know it seems like one of those things when you watch a dev stream, it's always what looks like TC going, we screwed up, we're going to do better. But I don't really see it as that this time. This seems different.
knew that some of the changes that we're going to move forwards with are going to be difficult for the team to just complete. And also, we'd always like to complete them faster. We wanted to commit to taking on those changes and really making sure that the players understood that we were listening to them, because I think that was one of the key things that came out of that summit, that we wanted to make sure that we knew the players were heard. And obviously, we want to improve the game, every week as we move forward.
Right. So, obviously, I was in the summit, and we talked about a lot. We had like an entire wall full of things that we were going through,
Yeah.
and how do we go and improve the experience of being in Gears. And like you said, some of those changes we're seeing. I mean, that summit was a while back, and we're seeing those changes now. We
Yeah.
did do some short term. So we've got like the ranked playlist, movement balance. A lot of that is reflective of decisions that were made in the room as well, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Almost everything that you talked about in the post earlier today, for 4 and 5 was as a result of the work that came out of that summit. Some of the things we wanted to just signal very early, the kind of intent behind our changes, and the dev playlist that I know Jamie has been talking about on these streams was one really important thing for us to get back to. I think the players are very clear on what they like and what they don't like, and we should give as many forums for the player to be able to tell us. And obviously, in game through a dev playlist was a really easy and quick way for us to test changes very quickly and get some good feedback. So that was something that we could do immediately. And then, like you alluded to, some of the other work, like one of the biggest things that we looked at was ranked. We knew that even on Gears 4, we tried a lot of things on ranked, and we knew that 5 had tried a bunch of different things. It was pretty clear from the feedback that we needed to do something pretty bold to kind of move it forwards and just try something different. And I think, we've been playing ranked internally within the studio, and it is very different. And I think the players are going to like it, and I'm sure they'll tell us if they don't like it. But the key thing is that we just want to be open and honest and say, look, we're changing things. It's a pretty bold decision, in particular with ranked, and I'm kind of excited to hear the feedback on it. Actually, it's fun.
Me too.
All right, so it sounds like ranked is going to be wildly different, so that's going to be interesting. Obviously, this is Wednesday. I don't know about the ranked news. I'll get it to you tomorrow when I can. My guess, or let's rephrase it. I think all I want from the ranking system is I want to play a game and I want to go into the game, and sometimes I want to smash the enemy team, and sometimes I want the game to be sweaty, and sometimes I want the game to be a struggle. I don't want it to be perfectly balanced every single game to the high degree of total skill-based matchmaking. I know that might sound bad, because having every single game be a sweatfest when you're a Masters player, and if they were actually Masters players in the game and it was properly working, it would be quite unfun to relentlessly have to do the quote meta thing, the correct thing, the right rotations, the right hill takes. Sometimes you just kind of want to plow in there with a shotgun, and if you're against a full team of Masters players that knows what they're doing, that wouldn't really happen as much. So I'm not a big advocate of skill-based matchmaking. What I am an advocate of is just the player should know what he gets for potentially winning the game, what they can lose, and what they are working towards. That's why I like League of Legends ranking system, because I go in, I know I'm roughly going to get about 24 points for a win. I'm probably going to lose about 17, and if I go on a streak, I'm going to go from winning 24 to 25 to 26, and it rewards you for going on a streak. So suddenly, if you've won 5 games in a row, and then you do get that one unfair match, you're only going to lose like 17, but you've probably gained, instead of gaining 22, you've gained 30. So there's a barrier and there's a buffer, so it doesn't get as frustrating, because if you do get good and continually win, there is a buffer. It sounds like they're doing something brave for the ranking system, the way they're describing it. It sounds like maybe it's not going to be a league system. Maybe it's not going to be ELO and stuff like that. That sounds pretty... I mean, it might not be, but the way they're saying it's bold and different, I'd love to see a Gears spin on the ranking system, absolutely. But I think what I'm most worried about is if the ranking system doesn't work, there's going to be 2 lines of thought. It's going to be, I like this ranking system, let's work on it. There's going to be the, oh my god, it's broken again, I'm ditching the game. And then there's going to be the ones that hate it. So I think forget what the ranking system is. I know this is like an impossible ask because if they've only just created it, it will have problems. People need to understand that. If you've just created a ranking system and the entire population hasn't been on the ladder and played it, there will be problems. So you do have to give it time. And I'm just worried that it can't. I don't think the game can stand another broken ranking system. So whatever it is, I believe in them. I believe they've got the best interests at heart. I just hope it works. That's all I'm asking for. I just want to know as a player, whatever it is, I want to know what I can get for playing the match, what I can lose, and how hard I need to try. Am I sweating against Masters players, or can I, maybe have a bit of a few shots with a sniper this time and not rotate instantly because maybe it's a lower level game? That's really all I'm looking for, and that would keep me happy because I'm a Gears fan. I love making videos. It's got Splash Bomb in the UK. I'd love to be in that office in the Splash Bomb, Splash Damage. Play testing and saying this map fucking sucks. But no, but seriously, I think it just needs to work. Just forget like whether it's going to be a perfect ranking system or not. There are people like Gandhi. There are people like I'm Tired Robbie. Silver Stallone in the Discord that love playing ranked, and they just got bored because basically it was like you could win 600 games and then you'd lose one and you'd lose like 5 points, and it would take you another 600 games to get the 5 points back. That's clearly like unsustainable. Like nobody wants to play that system. So long-winded. Just hope it works, and we'll be interested on the reveal.
Yeah.
I think one thing we should talk a little bit about maybe with rank before we get into some of the other stuff is we are being bold, but that bold sometimes comes with a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. What we didn't want to do and was just kind of make incremental changes against some of the big problems and just kind of feel our way to a solution over multiple operations. We wanted to really try and change things from the ground up in some areas, not in all of them. In other areas, we've been very considered with the type of changes that we're making. But there were definitely some areas where we thought, we could take our time over this and we could be kind of risk averse. But ranked was a great example of where we just thought, let's just try something different for the franchise and let's just see how it lands. And I think it is a bold change, and I think the players are going to like it. Actually, it's going to be a lot more clear for them. I don't want to get into too much of the details and steal the thunder for later in the week, but it should be a very clear system, and it should be a lot more fun to engage with.
Well, and I think one of the things that we did try, we did tinker with the rank system quite a bit through the fall, like since the game's launch, and I think that tinkering is what emboldened us to go and make that big decision rather than something that because we did talk about just do we adjust what we have or do we start it from scratch. So I think that is part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a trade-off between time and I know it's frustrating for the players to kind of hear about that trade-off, and I don't want to talk about things like that too much, which is just it's just a symptom of being a developer that just some things take time, but it really doesn't matter to the players. I think they just want to see things as quickly as possible. So we're trying to do that as quick as we can.
And then, again, if you guys have questions for Alex, throw them in the chat. Alex, the other two ones that we kind of brought up, so we talked about some of the good stuff that's coming, but we also delivered a little bit of bad news today in terms of maps and I don't want to say the PvE is bad news. It just might take a little bit longer for what we want to do with the characters versus classes. With maps, so maps take a while to make.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, maps is a really interesting one, and yes, I think by Op 5 we'll get to where we need to in terms of maps. I mean, I know there's been some talk about Blood Drive on the forums today. I think as we get to Op 5, we're going to start to see the result of some of the changes that we put in practice in February. It does take time to make them. One of the things we did coming out of the summit was actually revisit how we make them. and we have a great content team here that kind of find it new and innovative ways of trying to get things out as quickly as possible. And behind the scenes over the last few months, we have been changing the way that we make maps, but obviously we want to ensure that we keep the same quality and try and improve the quality actually and make them even more fun, but just take less time to produce. And that kind of process does take a while to get going, and there's obviously a lag, but by the time we get to Op5, then I'm confident that we will have kind of figured out that new process and we'll be churning out maps that will hopefully kind of please the community and get us to the place where we want to be.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
terms
I
of
think
producing
for us,
content.
we knew out of the gate that, or not out of the gate, we knew early on that maps was something that was not where we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
We had high hopes for what we could do.
Just a note on the maps. I'd like them to fix lift. I don't think it's a major problem. I don't think anybody particularly likes the lift map, but the shutters on lift were broken for the entirety of Operations 3. And instead of just disabling the shutters or just like whacking up perma shutters or perma open, they just took the map out and it never went back in. So it was just one less map. Got people in chat. I've seen Gandhi in chat. I've seen Baz in chat. These are high level players that play a lot. They've been in my stream. I play against them. Blood Drive of all the maps. Blood Drive of all the maps. Honestly, it's put it this way. I'd never vote for it. I might vote for it over Nowhere. Sorry, is it called Nowhere? I can't. That's how uninspiring those Gears 4 maps are. The map with the mulcher that rains down and there's a sniper below. Anyway, I'm just not a fan of Blood Drive. I've never liked it. I never liked it in Gears 2. Some people love it. Some people will love it. I just don't like Blood Drive, but that's just a personal preference, isn't it? Like I said, it sounds like Operation 5 will be the map operation. This is going to be ranked, tweaks, etc.
Do with tiles in terms of what they could do. Because initially the idea with tiles was actually they were going to speed up the process, that we could go and produce more maps more quickly.
Yeah.
And it was going to offset some of what we were seeing. What we were seeing with the tiles actually was, this is more for, Alex, you obviously know this, but this is for the people, was that as we were making, a lot of the tile-based maps ended up feeling very similar because of the gunfights would all sort of congregate in one area and all of that. And that was an unforeseen kind of downside of the tile-based system. So that was one of the reasons why we moved away from that. So we had prioritized tiles with the hope that we would actually be able to make more maps rather than less maps. But it kind of ended up being the opposite.
Yeah, that was one of the areas where we had to hold our hands up and, like you said, just say it isn't working and what else can we do differently. So
what they mean there is, I believe, and thinking about it logically, it is pretty maybe obvious, but easy to say with hindsight, very easy to say with hindsight. If you make 50 tiles and like 20 tiles are like different corridors, there are like 15 connector tiles like crossroads, L bends, right bends, etc. There's like ramps and stairs, but ultimately you have like what you would call like power position tiles, like this is where the torque bow is, this is where the snipe is. It doesn't really matter how many different bends and connections you have on the game, whether it be like the snowy slide, the fights are going to congregate on the power position tiles. So then that's okay, right? You make a map, you connect it all, fight over a power position tile. Then when they go to change the tiles, they change how it is. Now there's a slide, now there's a right bend instead of a left bend, now there's a stairway, but you're still working your way to fight towards that power tile. And regardless of how many tiles you make, unless you make infinitely different changing power tiles, I've just made that word up, by the way, power tile, you're always going to be fighting over the same thing and heading towards the same location. So then if based off that you need to make a load of power tiles, well then you're not really utilizing the tile system, because the tile system is meant to be click in, change things, chuck out a map really fast. So if you're then having to change the key power tile fighting area every time you want to make a tile based map, you may as well just make a regular map anyway. That's how I see that.
unlike ranked, there wasn't an easy solution or way out of that. So yeah, that's kind of where we are in terms of the new process for maps.
Cool. And then now for today, so we had a tease out today. So we revealed, that's why I'm wearing my Delta Squad shirt today. So we revealed that Dom is coming back, which is great. I know everyone's very excited about that. There was also a sneak peek of another map inside of there, which is Blood Drive. So everyone picked up on that. For those of you that are asking, why Blood Drive? We hate Blood Drive. The funny thing is about Blood Drive is for the amount that people complain, it ends up in Gears 4 was one of the most consistently voted for maps in the map selection system whenever people are choosing kind of before a match. So as much as you guys don't like Blood Drive, the silent majority in this scenario rules that, which is why it was one of the ones that was decided to be a port. But let's talk about ports, because is it as easy as copy and pasting?
I wish it was, but it's not. There's a lot of new systems and kind of considerations that we need to take into account, obviously with the way Gears 5 was developed, and just we always try and improve the way that we make content, make it look better, trying to improve our quality, and with that obviously comes work and cost. So yeah, we have to really like crack open the old maps, as we call them, and do a fair amount of work to them to make them up to the level and kind of standard and quality definition that we'd expect for Gears 5. So it's not a copy and paste. I wish it was, otherwise we'd have a lot more maps out right now. But
yeah, we would literally just be rolling out all
yeah,
of the Gears 4 maps into the game right now.
Exactly, yeah. But it is work behind it. But like I said, I don't want to talk too much and kind of get bogged down by the fact that it is all work.
Yeah.
In terms of content, we have to produce stuff. I think the key thing for us right now on the dev team to focus on is we're trying to make that as efficient as possible and just remove some of the blockers and barriers that were in place at the start of Gears 5 launch. And you know, it's a lot of behind the scenes, just kind of undoing some dependencies and making sure that we can release things a lot more quickly.
Right.
Than we can.
For those of you that are asking, Op4 and Op5 is going to be, but let's talk about Op4 actually. Op4 is going to be a combination of old maps as well as the new one. So yeah, we're going down that path, and then Gears 5, Op5 will have more.
Again, because I don't know anything about development, I'd love to ask the question. I'm bringing up a video here to show you. I understand that a different map. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I understand that a Gears 4 map is going to take time. It's not just a copy-paste job. It's not just a copy-paste job. But surely it does take less time, a lot less time than making a new map. Because when I watched this video, I can't think of his name, sorry, the young developer in the middle here, he said he went through about 300 different iterations of what we now know as District. And yeah, you do need to tweak everything. They probably need to rebuild every piece of cover and, re-art everything and make it up to new standards and do the new systems that are in place. I'm not saying it's not a ton of work, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not one of these people that think, oh, lol, copy paste. Like, there's obviously a ton of work, very difficult. I tried to make a map in the old Gears of War 1 engine. Maybe Unreal 4 engines are slightly bit easier, but I couldn't do it. It's not like I know how to do it. But surely re-arting and redesigning a bit of canals takes a lot less time than doing 145 different iterations of a map to playtest it, because we already know how Blood Drive plays. We know what weapons are going to be there. We know what pieces of cover there, what's going to be a SWAT turn, what's going to be a mantle kick. We know all of those. So surely that just in of itself, the fact that you don't have to draw it out, design it, do 5,000 different iterations of it, and then test it and then get feedback and test it again and get feedback and change this piece of cover here and open up this area so it's easy to attack or defend. Surely that in itself makes creating a map quicker. That being said, I guess we're the judges in Operation 5, because it's now all about Operation 5.
New maps than we have delivered in a previous operation. So we're quite excited about the depth and such inside of that.
Yep.
So I don't know. I wish I had more to say about that. The other one that is one that is a big one, and is the separation of class versus like the role of hero characters inside of Horde, and that's unfortunately something we tried to get into Op 4, but is not going to make it until Op 5. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that was a something we really tried to push for, but we just weren't confident that we'd ironed out all the creases with kind of separating the characters and classes. So we actually thought we'll just take a bit more time to do that and make sure that we do it properly. So yeah, I think we can talk about the currency a bit later, hopefully, but really the separation of characters and classes was part of, again, the summit work, and it's more to do with just the philosophy that we wanted to adopt going forward, and that's that we don't want to punish people and kind of make them play the way that we think they should be playing. We want to make sure that we reward people for the time that they spend in game, because a lot of people do spend a lot of time in a game, and we do really appreciate that. But I think some of the actions that we took don't show that appreciation all the time. So by decoupling characters and classes, I think it allows obviously the fans to kind of engage with more content more easily, and hopefully have more fun and experience more of the game. We were just one of the big things we wanted to look at going into the summit was just how we expand or make available more areas of the game to play to more people. So that was one of the main reasons that we did that.
Well, I think that I want to kind of go back to what you sort of just touched on there, was the idea that we want to reward people's time spent inside of the game.
Yeah.
And I think rewarding that is done in a bunch of different ways. That is making sure it's enjoyable to play. That is like what you mentioned with, I'm pointing to you like you're here. I'm pointing to the TV anyway. But that's like, when we talk about being able to earn stuff, being able to go and choose to play in Horde, or like any PvE mode, and not be locked down to a certain class. I like to be an engineer, but I want to play as Marcus, as an example. All of those things we wanted to escalate the enjoyment of being in the game, and let people know we respect the fact that their time is valuable, and we want to reward that.
So I think what they're saying there is basically it's not a MOBA being League of Legends, Dota. It's not maybe a shooter-based MOBA like Overwatch, where you see a specific character and you go, that's Mercy, she's the one that heals, and I look at Mercy and I go, right, that's the healing champion. It's not quite like that in Gears. Gears is PvE, it's not quite PvP, sort of, in the sense that you don't really have abilities in that regard. Yes, there is the arcade mode, but forget that. What I mean is, when you're playing Horde mode, if I see a Caitlyn next to me, immediately I go, oh, she's the shotgun bleed character. But maybe down the line, what they're saying is, people want to do the shotgun bleed character, but they want to be the Marcus skin, and that's okay. And that's what's changing, because basically, yes, if I was playing against Caitlyn, I should be able to immediately recognise, oh, I'm against a Caitlyn bleed shotgun, right? That makes sense for having an easy, like, recognisable character with a skin. Like, oh, that's Kate, boom, bleed shotgun. But now you can make it Marcus, and I don't think there's any problem there, because pretty much, like I say, you're not fighting against them. I'm sure you'll figure it out in a few seconds that when you load up and you see Marcus might not be the Lancer guy. He might be a shotgun guy, or he might be an engineer. They just want to use that skin. And I'm pretty sure very, very quickly you're going to figure out who it is. It might not be as easily, immediately identifiable, but I don't think that really matters in Gears of War PvE, because, like I say, if you go into a game and you see Coltrane, and he's running around on fire or something, and you think, oh, he's doing an engineer, or Coltrane's running around on fire and he's actually, he's doing a different role. I don't really see a big problem, and it seems like they're maybe going to allow you in the future to change it around rather than it being so rigid. Like, I like the idea of the hero system. The hero system's a really good one. It's easy identifiable, but I just think maybe it just doesn't work for Gears because people are so attached to the character that they just want to play as Marcus and play every role. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
And that was a guiding factor inside of the summit.
Yeah, I'd say that was one of our strongest kind of principles. We wrote up a number of principles or kind of statements, I guess, on the board, and one of the key ones was that we must value the time players play the game, and we definitely didn't think that we were giving that recognition, previously. So we can touch on the earnable currency because I think this is one of the best ways that we actually try and hit against that goal of that statement. So yeah, it seems pretty obvious now, but it is an earnable currency. I won't go into too many details again because I don't want to steal the thunder for later in the week. But you can earn that. You can earn that through the tour. We're going to make basically all the content, apart from some promotional content, available to the player to earn. We've shaken up the store as well because we wanted people to be able to get as much content as they can as long as they play the game. But also just the way the store was structured wouldn't allow kind of easy navigation, and it wouldn't allow us to really kind of showcase a lot of the items that players could earn. So we've done some pretty good work on the store. It's still a work in progress, and there'll be some more changes on Op 5 as well. But I think it should be a lot clearer as to how you get things in game. You should have a much clearer path to be able to obtain the content you want, and obviously you can earn that now and not just have to pay for it. So I think I'm super excited about that because one of my big frustrations was just looking at the way content was used when we came into the summit. I wanted to make sure that we got a lot more content into a lot more people's hands.
Right. Okay. And then I know that I'm just seeing them in the chat right now. There's lots of questions around what that looks like. We're going to go into that. A lot of the questions you guys are asking for or asking about specifically, part of the reason why it took so long for us to get to where we are here is the production side, but a lot of it's the design side. Because we were changing so much, we had to take into consideration variables of what would happen to things that we already owned, or what would happen with this, and how would people feel. So a lot of that will be explained, and we're going to get into that. So I don't want to just dismiss that, but the ultimate intention, what I want you guys to take away from this, is about us valuing your time. And I think that, and I know that's something that you are, like you said before, you're passionate about, and I think it's interesting. And this is where you look at what you brought to Gears Tactics and what you brought to Gears Pop, and there's different sensibilities inside of both of those games that, on terms of compulsion loops and why people are playing and what they're doing, and how do we go and make those experiences valuable. And different, obviously, a free-to-play mobile game is very different than a narrative-driven console PC game versus a live services-oriented console game. But there are certain learnings that you've brought from each one and that we brought from Gears 5 into Gears Pop and Tactics, and vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's kind of in quite a lucky position, and being able to kind of span across a few projects and see what works and what doesn't work across all the different products that we have right now. And yeah, like you said on Gears Tactics, we obviously took a completely different stance to microtransactions there, and just making sure that people can access the things they want to, and we're bringing some of that philosophy across with the
Yeah, Gears Tactics is really, really good with the way it is. Like it's just kind of little things, like you do the extra bits in the mission, you get the extra crate, you do the extra mile in the mission, and you'll get rewarded with maybe sometimes cosmetics, sometimes with a different scope, more accuracy. And yeah, it does suit that over that I almost called it Overwatch, sorry, that XCOM type of game a little bit more. But yeah, it's a good standpoint. Now we're only halfway through the dev blog, and there are some other interesting bits because I have watched another video, but that's kind of the gist of it. And again, I take up a lot of your time anyway, and I won't take up any more. This is again just going to be chatting about like how we've come to be with Operation 4, and I think there you've got a very good idea of how Operation 4 is coming along, what specifically is to be expected, and then again what we can do is we can look at the actual specifics on the new ranking system, the tour of duty, and the PvE, which obviously will be sort of more interesting because they can reveal something. This is just a quick 1 hour chat with kind of the state of the game, where it's going to be, and obviously everyone in chat saying some appreciation, Gears 5 is terrible, Cliffy B, so yeah, I won't take up any more of your time. It's been almost an hour, but thank you for watching. If you did, as always, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you for the ranking video tomorrow or whenever I can get that out, and then the currency, and then the PvE updates, and then obviously maybe I'll do like a rounding up video of everything that we've learned. So thanks for watching, everybody. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not, and leave a comment saying whatever it may be. What are you most looking forward to? Oh, I did say, look at there, thank God I remembered. I did say that I would include the results of the poll in the video. So we did a poll, and we did a poll, and I asked you what rating it would be out of 10. So we have got 1 to 3 out of 10, 12%. This is 150 votes. 20%, so basically 32% of people are rating it below a 6, and the rest are 7 or above. I have a very different opinion. I'll comment below. Let's read some of the comments. Easily a 10, massive character drop, ranking system store overhaul are big wins. I was pumped to find out there was a trailer. I spent 5 minutes loading the official video just to find out it was 20 seconds long. Cautiously excited. Hopefully they're fixing this stuff. Solid 8. 6. Once they bring out all the maps, it'll be up to a 9. I'm never playing again. Not sure about that one. They're aiming for Op 5 to be the game being a good spot. Agree. I've got faith. I have no faith in what the new ranking system will be. Abilities have always felt very out of place. Makes me feel like I'm playing some sort of baby game. Then on my own Twitter with 66 votes, it was very similar. Well, actually, my Twitter is slightly more negative. More people are voting below 6. More people, or should I say less people, are choosing to vote 7 or above. Also, we'll end with a picture of me receiving 2 free pizzas by mistake. So that was wonderful, wasn't it? And this was me talking about Blood Drive. I would like to speak, but I cannot say what I think, or I would be suspended. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace.